Campfire Punkrock was my first EP, my first proper release. Prior to that, I did have a demo that I had made using some kind of garage band style thing on a computer, but I was right at the start of playing solo. Million Dead had recently broken up, and actually specifically what happened was in between Million Dead tours towards the end, when I knew the band was going to break up, I was on tour with a band called Reuben doing their merch, and the support act was called Dive Dive, which featured Nigel, Ben and Tarrant, and we became friends and got chatting, and they said that they had their own studio set up and they were a band, and I told them I was thinking about this solo thing. And they said that they could help if I needed to do some recording at any point. So that was in the back of my mind. It's worth adding as well that, it was going solo, as in playing without Million Dead, playing an acoustic guitar, and that's how I was touring. In my mind, I always wanted some kind of band set up for at least some of the songs. And a lot of it was based on a songwriter called Kid Harpoon, who these days, I believe, writes songs for Harry Styles. But he was living at Nambucca at the time, and he had a band that had a bassist and a drummer and an electric guitarist and keys player, and him on acoustic up front, and I just thought it was so great. His early EPs are well worth a listen if you're not familiar. So that was kind of the model I was going for. I was writing songs I had pretty quickly at that period of time, and when it came to making the EP, I went to Oxford and went to Tarrant's house, where he had a studio set up in his basement, and cables running up to the top floor where they had the kind of control room, as it were. From memory, I brought the songs in, I taught them to the guys very quickly. We weren't really thinking about touring at the time. It was more just a case of getting parts down, and it's such a long time ago now. The actual recording was in 2005. But I think we spent a couple of days kicking it around, got some arrangements together for the 3 songs with bands, which are Nashville, Tennessee, This Town Ain't Big Enough for Me, and I Really Don't Care What You Did in Your Gap Year. And we put those together, and then I recorded Casanova Lament and Thatcher Fuck the Kids as well. And then you have a 5-track EP. Nigel played keys afterwards because we didn't have a keys player, and he's a great keys player. And Ben mixed it, and we put it together, and the good folks at Extra Mile had already agreed to release it. It was that was a very cool thing, incidentally, because it was a period of time when going from being in a kind of hardcore or post-hardcore band, or whatever you want to call it, to playing country folk rock type of stuff, a lot of people thought I was losing my mind and were very skeptical about it and didn't want to be involved. And the people at Extra Mile were amazing, because straight away they were just like, we're interested, we want to help. So yeah, we put it together. The title of the EP came from, I played a solo show in Dundee somewhere in 2005, and after the show, I think there's probably about 50 people there, a drunk Scottish guy wandered past me and said, you're Campfire Punkrock, you are. And I thought it was a super cool epithet. I can't remember what he looked like. I never knew him personally, and I've had several people claim in years since to have been that person, so I don't know if it was you, but if it was, thank you very much. It just seemed like a perfect description of what I was trying to do. So we put it together. I did the artwork using a couple of photos people had taken, and I think I'm right saying some Campfire clip art, possibly. And because it was 2006, we pressed it on CD, and lots of CDs, and I can't remember exact numbers, but I do remember that we sold quite a few more than we were expecting. And for the next year or so of my life, my entire being seemed to consist of carrying boxes of Campfire Punkrock CDs around with me on the train as I went from show to show. We were still a year off playing any shows as a band. At that point, I just couldn't figure out the finances of it, the logistics, a van, a drum kit, all that kind of thing, and indeed a keyboard player. But yeah, so that, Campfire became my kind of calling card for a while. The songs on it, they weren't necessarily, I wasn't necessarily releasing songs in the order that I wrote them. They just felt like the right songs to put on an EP at that period of time. I had The Real Damage and The Ballad of Me and My Friends and songs like that around as well. I can't quite remember the choosing process. I do remember that Nashville, Tennessee felt like a calling card song for me. It's kind of about who I am and what I do and what my intentions were musically. To be English, to sing in an English accent whilst employing American musical references, and to be defiant and to be solo and all that kind of thing. So that felt like a good opening. Thatcher Fuck the Kids is musically very much a Beans on Toast song, thanks Jay, with a take on British political issues in there as well, which I like. Casanova Lament, I learned how to fingerpick when I was in a school play when I was a kid. I had to sit at the back and play guitar in a scene, and a teacher taught me how to this fingerpicking pattern, clawhammer fingerpicking, and I used it for that song. This Town Ain't Big Enough for the One of Me is a very early example of my obsession with kind of repurposing rock and roll riffs in a slightly different kind of musical context. It's got that kind of traditional doom 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 thing in there, but then it goes to other places. And it's kind of a song about Winchester and feeling like I wanted to get to other places from there and not be trapped in a small town. It's probably a little more sarcastic than it needs to be. I Don't Care What You Did in Your Gap Year. The title comes from a friend of mine who at a very bacchanalian all-night party had hived off with a lady that he fancied, and then she just showed him photos of her gap year and then left, and he was disappointed. That none of that's in the lyrics. But it's a song about all-night parties at Nambucca, basically, and the fact that a lot of us used to stay up all night. And it was wild and unhealthy, it's probably worth saying. So the EP came out in early 2006, and I just sort of kept touring the way I was, but everything, both then and for many, many years afterwards, was just a kind of slow, incremental evolutionary process. You know, I was just going round and round and round. At that point I was on the train. I used to charge £50 for a show, and it went up to £50 plus my train fare when my young person's rail card ran out. It's a true story. And I would do stage shout outs for places to sleep before the last song, and at the beginning I played a lot of very weird and wonderful places to not many people, and over time it sort of built up a bit, and that, you know, I got to a place where I could probably sell 40 tickets in most towns, and then maybe that became 60, and maybe it became 80, and the Campfire Punkrock EP was doing the rounds, and I seem to remember Rock Sound magazine putting one of the songs on their cover mount CD. And, you know, things slowly built, and the process of making it was the sort of the model for making Sleepers for the Week, and, you know, it was very much a kind of a trailblazer of an EP. Looking back on it now, I'm super proud of it. I know that Thatcher Fuck the Kids was a song that got a lot of people into what I do, and it's a song, I stopped playing it for a bit, but I've started again recently, and I like it. It's a good song. Nashville still feels like a pretty basic calling card for who I am and what I do. I'm looking forward to the tour, because I'm going to play all the songs off the EP on the tour. And in particular, Gap Year, I think, is a song that has a lot of really lovely kind of lyrics and chord changes in it, and I'm really looking forward to kind of bringing that one back, should we say. This Town Ain't Big Enough for One of Me is quite high vocally, so we'll have fun seeing if I can reach those notes in my 40s. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of a crazy thing to look back and think that I'm even talking about that EP 20 years later. I think my expectations for it at the time were very, very limited. I mean, among other things, I did an EP rather than an album, you know. I didn't know if I would ever get to make a record when we put out the EP, and it's such a wonderful, beautiful, crazy thing to think that there are songs on that record that, if they were in the United States, could now legally drink in a bar. I'm really, really proud of it. I'm excited to it's not at all like the old days, because the shows are a lot bigger. It'll be just me on the stage, but boy, were there fewer people. I'm pretty sure the London show is going to have more people in it than my entire first year of touring put together. But what a wonderful thing. And for anybody who was there back in the day, thank you for sticking with me. It's been a hell of a journey, and I'm grateful beyond words for that. And for anyone who's come along later, you're very welcome, and thank you for being part of it at all. So yeah, the Campfire Punkrock 20-year anniversary vinyl repress and CD is coming out shortly, and there's the England tour coming up as well, and hopefully we'll see you all there.
I woke up on a sofa in an unfamiliar house, surrounded by sleeping folks that I didn't know.